Good morning and welcome. It's nice to meet you all. Just a quick introduction. I'm Vic, or Victoria Sinclair, and I recently joined Pimento as business director. And for anybody who's on the call that doesn't know Pimento, just quickly, we have a network of around 200 independent agencies and specialists across the UK, and we help brands partner brands with these amazing specialists that we have, from brand through to performance and everything in between. And we also help guide brands through the complex landscape that we're in at the moment, which is why we're here today. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. This session has been recorded, keep your cameras on, smile, and please drop any questions into the chat at the end. We'll get to those at the end, or maybe all the way through. We'll punctuate with some questions. So quickly on to today. What's today's session about? Today's session is about looking at one of the biggest shifts that's happening in our landscape right now, how search is evolving and how AI and social are changing how people discover brands and businesses. It's moving very quickly and it's not always clear what to do. And I certainly am one of those people that are slightly really looking forward to this session and slightly need to know. So we brought together a brilliant panel of mixed specialists from across our network, who are going to offer some practical advice and unpack what it means and what to do next. So I'm pleased to hand over to Beatrice LeBlanc, who is paid digital strategist at Digenius, who will be in the session. Over
Thank
to you,
you so much.
Beatrice.
Hello, everyone. So first of all, thanks to Pimento for having me host this panel. So I'm Beatrice. I've been working in paid marketing for around 10 years now in France and now in the UK. I think you can hear my accent. I'm now working at Digenius as, I would say, a growth accelerator, helping agencies grow their portfolio mainly across Microsoft advertising, TikTok, and programmatic. So, before we dive in, I think it's worth doing a quick round of intros so everyone knows who's in the room. Anthony, I'll let you start.
Me. All
Yeah,
right, I'll start.
you.
So, hello everyone. Hello, Pimento Network. I'm Anthony Barone, co-founder and MD of Studio Hawk. We're an SEO only agency based here in Shoreditch. We're a global agency with offices in Melbourne, Sydney, London, and Atlanta, with over 100 specialists, primarily in the UK, working with e-commerce brands, but globally working across e-commerce and B2B, taking care of end-to-end SEO and AI search. So that's me.
Great. Manny?
Hi everyone, and hello to everyone at the Pimento Network. I'm Manny Singh, CEO of Bobble Digital, based in Leeds and Dubai. We're an SEO, AEO, a paid search, paid social performance agency for the last couple of years. And literally next week, I launched my own AI visibility tool, AEO Stars. I spent a lot of time understanding the LLMs, going around the UK, speaking about how AEO is the new SEO. You can watch that on like my podcast somewhere if you fancy taking some time out after this. And yeah, just excited to get into sharing some insights of what I've learned over the last couple of years.
Really nice. Are you in Dubai at the moment?
No, thankfully, I'm currently in the UK.
Okay, cool. Steve?
Hi, thanks, Beatrice. I'm Steve. I've been working in search since the days of Ask Jeeves, and that was quite a while ago. So basically, I'm working with clients in health, wealth, property, and finance in the UK to help them show up in AI-powered search and beyond. And it's all about being the answer.
Okay, amazing. Pretty serious clients here. So, today the discussion will explore topics such as how AI is reshaping search and discovery, the role of social platforms as well as search engines, what GEO and EAO actually means for brand visibility and performance, and how marketing leaders should adapt their strategies, search strategies going forward. So let's start with a bold one. Are we entering in a post SEO world, or is SEO simply evolving into something new like GEO and AI optimization? What's your take on this?
Who wants to start?
I can start if people want. I mean, I can be transparent and just say SEO will always be SEO. It is search, whether you use an LLM, whether you're on social media, whether you're in YouTube is a search platform, but it's also a video platform. I'm going to say this, and I've been saying to everyone, SEO is SEO. And if you look at SEO over the last 10 to 15 years in terms of how it changed, remember we also do keyword stuffing on websites and then, what we call black hat tactics now, and then all the updates that came from Google. Yes, is it evolving? But SEO has constantly evolved around different platforms. Years ago, we didn't even talk about TikTok, but ever since TikTok comes out, we know that after someone spends 60 seconds on a platform, half the users end up in a search element within the platform. It's just becoming more omni-channel SEO. That's how I kind of see it. And LLMs is one aspect of that because LLMs don't just look at Google or Bing as search engines. They're also looking at your social media platform, your Google My Business. They're looking at your YouTube profile, they're looking at Reddit, Quora, reviews. We've all done the three basic principles of SEO: technical, on-page, and authority building. And those principles remain steady no matter what happens during any kind of climate. It's just before we used to use different tactics and tools, and now we're using different tactics and tools now. Facebook's been around for so long, but it's different to what it used to be. It's evolving, but the principles remain exactly the same.
So when we talk about search strategy today, would you say is it more like a visibility brief rather than an SEO brief? And what are the sources of truth around this visibility, would you say?
I think it's about how we're looking at visibility now. It's the fact that just building on what was just said, it's really about getting found everywhere. I think it used to be much about trying to beat a robot. Now it's all about being visible across all the different platforms. And we look at the research that Google did with the 7-11-4, where you need to consume lots of content across lots of different platforms to be able to trust a brand. I think now it's about being surfaced as the answer everywhere that people are looking. And so, I mean, just to add to that, SEO fundamentally is about answering the search intent. It's about giving people the right answer. We're still on that mission to make sure that people get the most useful information, but the tactics within that have slightly modified.
So basically, you're saying that the game has changed, the rules have kind of changed. So SEO is kind of a source of truth. Would you consider other channels or other tactics as other source of truth? Which ones would you think about other than SEO?
In terms of digital marketing for a brand, or just like people trying to get content and consume content and search?
As in an LLM, where do they pull their source of truth now? Because I think SEO is part of the answer, but do we have other sources of truth where LLM could pull their sources?
All right, so if you're looking at ChatGPT, they're going to be doing Bing searches and basically scraping the web plus training data. Google AI mode and AI search, again, training data plus web search. And sometimes they'll get things wrong because they're pulling training data, which may be old. And then they'll sometimes use the training data first before they do web search. And then you're like, oh, why is that answer wrong? Some of the early doors things I've seen when it comes to ChatGPT and people, quote unquote, manipulating ChatGPT. Some people, depending on who you ask and what areas of SEO you're in, usually the gray hat or the black hat areas of SEO, they think it's 2010 Wild West again when it comes to ChatGPT and trying to rank. So you'll see a lot of listicles now. You'll see a lot of, I'm number one, and here are my competitors 2 to 10. And no one's going to think that that's absolute balderdash. But the LLMs are pulling that up, going, oh, great, that's the source of truth. So where Google's removed some of the anti-spam filters as well. So when it comes to ChatGPT and these LLMs, it's a bit difficult at the moment. They're still trying to work their stuff out. Fundamentally, they're still crawling websites like Google does. So your technical SEO still has to be clean. Like otherwise, good luck. When it comes to the content, your content still has to be great, well researched, trying to place yourself as an authority, which is not only for what your website says, but as Steve and Manny said, your socials, your LinkedIn, Reddit, you're looking at, and they're going to bounce off those other sources to try and verify who you are. And then you're going to look at digital PR and link building. So trying to also look at brand mentions and links from other websites as another source of truth to verify who you are. So long story short, fundamentals of SEO still apply. These LLMs like ChatGPT are using things like Bing search, plus they're using their training data, which may be wrong because it's old, before they then get into a web search, which is what we're seeing on AI mode, Google's AI mode. So yeah, they're still trying to figure things out, but some parts of it are a bit wild west at the moment when it comes to ChatGPT.
Okay, very, very interesting. So basically, you're saying that we should still optimize on what we're doing kind of before. We could still get some sort of control on what we say on the website because they're still crawling the websites and all this stuff. But how about, for example, what people say about you on social, which is harder to control? What would you say about this? Because I would say that they also pull their source of truth, the LLMs, on stuff that you can't control.
Oh, so you're thinking about like Reddit, people who have got the like,
Yeah, for example,
yeah,
how can you control this? Is there any control possible, or
I presume
The
there
only
is.
thing you can actually
this
control
is a
online
hard
is your website.
question.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing you can actually control online is your website, which is why it's still so important.
Yeah.
Everything else is up for grabs and is very hard to control. But it's well worth saying that all of these different areas are being used by search engines and LLMs to understand what they know about your brand. But I think that we should simplify this a little bit and look at the AI optimization, GEO, AEO, as a sibling of SEO. So this whole understanding of everything that we did before still applies, and there's an overlap. Then there's some very specific things that we're going to do to make sure that brands appear in LLMs as well. For example, what you just mentioned with Reddit and looking at forums and looking at YouTube and going beyond that to see what they know and deep learn about a brand, to understand what they know about a brand. So brand visibility is key here because it applies to everything. But let's not overcomplicate what GEO is because it's a sibling of SEO.
Okay, great. Which leads to another question. So, if a CMO asks you today whether SEO still deserves the same investment as 5 years ago, what would you say?
I'd say invest more. It's our
Yeah.
biggest growth channel right now. I'm struggling to hire because I'm bringing in different disciplines in terms of like people can specialize within social media and how to optimize like AEO search within like TikTok and how does content organic within TikTok kind of appear with the right references and questions. And that's just one singular channel. Then you've got stuff like Meta, and within that you've got LinkedIn, and you've got obviously Facebook. Then you got Instagram and Facebook, and then you got like LinkedIn. So it's become so omni-channel right now that actually you need different specialists and roles within the company and within the team are now changing, where we're looking at different elements in terms of what does content look like from an organic social point of view to traditional, listicles, articles, blogs, and what does that kind of format. So if anyone comes up to me, I'm like, now's the time. It's like, when Bitcoin was cheap, we all wish we all could have gone back and bought it cheap because we'd be better off. Now's the time to invest into your search. And especially in the UK economy, I always say anyone who invests in an economy that is, and let's be honest with you, the UK economy isn't great right now. It's just been down forecasted again. It's like a recession market. The brands that invest into their organic search now will come out leaders in the next, 18 months, but it's who's willing to make that risk and make that investment. So any CMO that comes up to me, I'm like, you should be spending more time right now because you'll outgrow your competitors and they'll have to play catch up in the long run. It's the long term, not just the short term.
Manny, are you telling us to move all to Dubai?
No, I'm not. I'm actually moving a lot of my operations to the US, which tells
Oh,
you how things are kind of like are going. Because I was with your team in the US just last week. So no, it's you can we're digital. We can work from anywhere in the world. Let's be honest with you. As long as I've got a laptop and internet connection, I can literally function my company from anywhere in the world. But for getting back to that little point in terms of like we embodied Howden Group Insurance in the UK, looking at their employee benefits and again doing their SEO GEO elements to it. And just recently, they've asked us to expand that over another 14 countries from Singapore all the way to the US. Now, that all came about because we sat down with them and said, well, where do we take this? And I was like, you need to jump on this now. You've got 49 countries. We need to start targeting them individually and adding it on. Like Steve said, it's a bolt on, but everything else within that, within that omni-channel sphere is also just a bolt on. So the more you do now, the more impact and benefit you're going to get it from long term. The problem we have right now, it's just so hard to track efficiently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest challenge. I mean, I'm definitely for investing in the growth areas because the internet is so noisy and everyone's already online doing everything they possibly can to show up and stand out online. That it should be a really good business case to make sure you're there for this new age. And I think 37% of searches are starting with AI now, with an AI search. The journey's changing. So businesses should be looking to get on the bandwagon to make sure that they are taking advantage of that, because I remember the start of Google, and when that came about, we weren't able to track keywords. This is an early phase that people can make the most of. And I think we've moved into a world where it's self-directed research, not just sales-led education. So that means that when people are ready to buy, they're practically sold before they've come to your brand. And I think businesses that neglect SEO and GEO at the moment are those that maybe don't understand how it's morphed and how it's changed. And we'll obviously be covering some of that in a minute. But it's a whole idea about, well, what is SEO and what do I actually still need to do and how do I measure it? But it's true that attribution and ROI has got more challenging. And I think that will all get cleared up in time.
So both of you are saying that brands need to shift from more measuring presence, but at the moment, I think the tooling is still catching up, and a lot of teams are not really using that yet. So I think there's a real competitive gap here now, and brands need to get ahead and get to this new measurement shift. But do you have any tips on how to measure this? Because everything is quite new, and I'm not sure people are yet trained about this new measurement methods.
What's going to happen is analysis by paralysis. So what we see with e-com brands, unfortunately, is that we need to get everything to the nth degree, and then nothing happens. And then you're sitting there 6 months, 12 months later going, my competitors are beating me, because they've wanted to either follow the shiny toy and couldn't concentrate for more than 5 minutes on something that actually makes an impact. Or they're just like, we need to get this absolutely perfect because our CMO or founder says XYZ. And then the other brands are going, we started doing blogs, we fixed up our technical SEO, we did some paid ads, we did this, we did it. We actually just got shit done. And then while the other brands are sitting on their thumbs going, yeah, but we need to make this perfect. And I know we always want to track everything, but at the moment, because there's so much noise and AI tools and everyone's trying to sell an acronym and do this and do that, by the time you actually figure out how to measure, to be honest, other people who just got going and started fixing up their website, doing some paid ads, doing organic social, doing some events, getting their brand visibility out there, getting some paid coverage, doing some PR. They've been actually moving the needle. While a lot of brands can't afford to just shotgun and blow money everywhere, but you also can't just be paralyzed by trying to make everything perfect. Because guess what? Nothing's perfect, and we're probably in the most competitive time for brands ever. As COVID proved, anyone can just start up a brand, anyone can just start up a business. So that's where, at this point in time, people need to just get moving. Look at your Google Analytics. If you're on Shopify, look at your Shopify numbers. If you look at your Google Search Console, it's your best free friend. Pay a fortune for SEMrush because you're never going to use it and you're just going to add to their P&L. There are tools out there that can help you get to a certain point.
Yeah.
But if you're an e-com brand doing doing a couple of million, do you need Adobe level billion-dollar numbers? No, you need enough to guide you, and your P&L should guide you as well. So brands should focus on getting shit done and trying their best to get actionable numbers, but it's never going to be perfect. And anyone trying to sell another tool or another acronym, bro, they're going to get caught up in the shiny toy syndrome, and then your competitors are going to be like, yeah, they're ahead of me because they just got stuff done. That's a blunt assessment from me, but as you know, Steve and Manny have been in this for years. We've seen enough clients, we've seen enough shit, and just basically sick of it. Just get things done and stop focusing on the
Measuring.
0.1% that is not going to move the needle while your P&L and your leaky bucket continues to leak and your P&L continues to die.
Yeah.
It's that old adage, you can't run a business from a, from a balance sheet, essentially. It's death by numbers. If you get too focused on the individual numbers, you get distracted by the bigger picture in terms of long term and what's going to happen. And I really try to go into some of my clients that just try to be too minute in terms of understanding it. One thing that I've literally just done like a couple of weeks ago, again for Howden as C-suite, because this is $1 billion organization with multiple departments. And one thing they're lacking is education. So I advise if anyone here is an agency owner to go in and start educating your clients in terms of what good looks like. So I put together a report explaining AEO and SEO and where does it sit within the market and what it means for the business, but also where does tracking come into it and what can we track and what does a good monthly report look like? And it just broke down into 4 key areas, which is GA4 monthly metrics. They were using HubSpot, so I talked about what was kind of real. AEO platform metrics that you might be using, and then the rest of it is manual qualitative. As Anthony said, look at the elements of what you can do. Everyone's seeing the same trends, impressions up in Search Console, click-through rate staying static or decreasing, organic search in GA4 dropping off, but referrals and direct going through. The real question is it really impacting where your business is down quarter by quarter, month on month, where leads are down drastically? Then there's something wrong and that needs further analysis. If not, like Anthony says, get shit done, start improving, refine as you go along, and you'll work it out along the way. That's what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
And Steve, what's your take on that? Like, do you use any tools, or would you say it's quite the same? You try to optimize first what you can on AEO. Like, what's your take on that?
It's become right now we've tested just about every tool that's out there, and
Yeah.
the challenge is that it's very, very difficult to track all the way from a prompt to a conversion, and I think that's where we want to be. And I think that there are some people that are very obsessed with that, but the
Yeah.
idea about actually aligning sales and marketing teams together, think about what people want to know, make sure your brand shows up in the right way, and think about it as how do you attract your ideal customers? Because you can get carried away, as we've said before, some great comments here. But actually, really, it's the customer and what they want to know is at the heart of this. And then the bottom line sales can be based upon around the pillars, around how you are performing on organic visibility and so on. But it is challenging because we're trying to measure more than the muddy middle. We've got loads of things going on here, and people are buying through touch points, and they're using Gen AI and going back in and Googling a brand. And the journey is really hard to attribute ROI to the original first touch point. So it's very, very hard to get that closed loop that everyone is attributing. But the clues are always in the numbers, and then we should definitely be thinking about certain KPIs within this world. But one of them can just be simply listening to what your sales teams are saying. We've heard from our clients and within our own agency, people say, you came up under a family-run digital agency in London and that specializes in our area. And it's like, listen to that as well. Don't just look at the data, listen to the trends, because this is a very, very fast moving area, but also the tracking feels like an oil tanker. It's slowly coming behind, and we are trying to get there much quicker than it is going to happen in reality. I firmly believe the best tools out there are already trying to make this happen, and we're just a little bit behind the curve. So it will happen.
I remember, like, maybe 5, 10 years ago, there was this whole obsession about attribution, getting everything data driven. But at the end of the day, when I look at the brands who really adopted it in a perfect way, this never happened. So I imagine now with all the LLMs, the AI, this will just become a nightmare it's impossible to attribute everything to one channel and find the perfect source of truth. And yeah, as I think you all said, we should now look at the P&L, the outcomes, rather than trying to micromanage everything, because yeah, this is became too complex. The journey for a conversion became way too complex compared to before. So we have some questions in the chat. So yeah, do you think we're at risk of creating a landscape where lots of brands become equally findable by AI, but not necessarily more distinctive or desirable? And if so, what becomes the differentiator? See, seems like we have quite difficult questions here.
But basically, AI makes everything look the same. So what then stands out? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're just getting a bunch of AI slop. Because okay, so for example, on an e-commerce brand front, everyone's like, yeah, my clothes are cool, my brand's cool, and then they do the same AI slop, and they're like, oh, why am I not different? It's like, well, what makes your brand special? Why do customers want to pick you? Who's your ICP? And you're going to do that through content, you're going to do that through socials, you're going to do that through various other channels. But unfortunately, if everyone does that, yes, it just becomes vanilla. So what may we see? We're going to see maybe more human touch things. Maybe we'll see more events. Maybe we'll see more personalization. Maybe we'll see more experiential events, something different. Because if everyone does, because everyone's going to go the path of least resistance, and we've already seen it. AI slop. Oh, but AI can do it. Well, if AI can do it, what makes your brand so different? Oh, but my clothes are cool, and I'm a B Corp in this. But if it's all the same shit, who cares? Like fundamentally, if someone's typed in a question on you're running a shoe brand and someone has typed onto AI search, AI mode, ChatGPT, I'm looking for comfortable shoes as a trail walker with orthotics and a wide foot. But if your content is just generic AI slop, then you're not going to match that intent. You're not going to come up for it. So look, you may be right. Like, yeah, if everyone's just doing the same thing, we'll just see a bunch of AI slop. Therefore, think about your customer, who you're trying to target, what you're trying to do, and how you can attract those types of people. Otherwise, if you just do AI slop, you're just going to get or AI garbage in, garbage out. You're just going to get AI slop back. You're just going to get not a good fit customers or not even customers. They come through to your website, get a bit of traffic, get some clicks, but they don't actually buy because you've just put AI slop in there. And guess what? You're going to get no customers that are going to match that, or you're going to get wrong customers. Same thing as we go through on a B2B side, like all of us here. If our websites are no good and we're attracting the wrong people, guess what? We're going to get not good fits, or we're going to sign like people are going to want to come to our website that are not good fits for SEO or social or whatever. It's what you're putting out there as well, in my long-winded answer there.
I do think this question is interesting as well, because I do think it can be also a great opportunity. Actually, I used to be from the beauty and cosmetic, working for beauty and cosmetic brands at L'Oreal, and I do think that actually LLMs are great for hyper-personalization. Like if you have I don't know, like a very specific skin concern or all these type of things. I think if you have a very specific brand, you could actually do great on LLMs and not necessarily compete as much using that tool. I think, Anthony, you work a lot with cosmetic clients as well and beauty. Do you think the same?
Yeah, so on that point, right, that comes from the
Yeah.
content, that comes from the website. So if you just put like, okay, you're working with L'Oreal, Avene Skincare, one of those, and you just go, this is a great moisturizer.
Yeah.
Elevate your face with this great moisturizer, EM dash. Get out with that. Like Steve said before, what are your customers saying? Look at your reviews, look at internal site search data, do keyword research, use Reddit. There are so many ways to be able to try and gather that information to understand how your customers are using it. So if you've got a facial moisturizer that is all organic products, helps with eczema, helps with this, helps with that. That comes into your content. That comes to understanding your product. That comes to understanding your customer and trying to attract that right customer, which therefore goes into your content, along with the other parts of SEO, technical, link building, and so forth, to then put those signals out to Google, AI mode, ChatGPT, Ask Jeeves, whoever, when they're reading that content and then going, all right, I understand what this product does because you have done the research, structured it well, done it very well to then answer those concerns, because it's not just a keyword anymore. Someone's going to be typing in, Manny's search is going to be different to my search, going to be different to your search, it's going to be different to Steve's search. I have beautiful, wonderful skin. My question might be a bit different. Someone who struggled with acne, for example, right? That hyper-personalization, that's why, back to the tracking point, bloody impossible to try and track all that stuff, because the way we phrase it, prompts, questions are all going to be so different. So this is where it comes to what you can control, which is the content, understanding your product, talking about the differentiators, the demographics you're trying to target, the who, what, when, where, why, how, who's it good for, who's it not good for in terms of that content, and then try your best so that when someone's searching on AI and they put that question in, you'll be one of 2, 3, or 4 products that come up, because you have done your job in that content to educate customers, AI, Google, as to what you do.
I think there's an aspect to add to that within LLMs. Who here uses Netflix? We all use Netflix, right? Well, I'd assume we all use Netflix. But if I log into Netflix and then I log into Steve's and I log into Anthony's, they're going to have a different level of recommendations and hyper-personalization like Amazon. So the other aspect we have to think about this long term is within LLMs, like I've trained mine to be called Friday and I've given it specific instructions and stuff like that to be hyper personalized to me. So your content has to take in consideration 3 key things: hyper personalization within LLMs in terms of how it works, who your ideal customer profile is around that, and then the context that you're creating around your product descriptions, around your products and services that fits within that. And the businesses get to define their ICP and the context and the USPs of their products best. Eventually, within the LLMs, when someone's doing their individual searches, as Anthony just said, they're going to get the best unique response to them based on the experiences that they're having, based on their personalization of what they're experiencing within that LLM. And that's something you have to consider as part of the long term. But it comes back to then doing the basics of what is your product, what is your USP, as Anthony said.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Like you just said, the LLM gets used to you and personalized to you. Don't you think that sometimes we enter in kind of sorts of rabbit holes?
Yes, you can probably. I mean, like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Is this Alice in Wonderland? Essentially. But I guess LLMs, I mean, the technology is like here and we're here realistically. So, and remember, like LLMs can only see this. Think of it like an end credit scene to a film. You only get to see a certain part. You don't get to see the whole script. So, based on how much data it can actually process, it's only giving you a chunk at a time in terms of historical data. So, there's a lot that you can go down on LLM in terms of how it functionally works technically. And I think that's a bit from AI search we all need to really start to understand is how do these LLM works? The same way we used to look at how, Bing's and Google's algorithm works. You look at the EAT guidelines, Colbert Vitals, etc., stuff like that, all these updates. You've got to really understand how these LLMs kind of like work and what they tap into. And we've already said it, Anthony's mentioned it, how it taps into like reviews, social media platforms, your Google My Business profiles, etc. These are just fundamentals that you need to look after.
And on that, you also need to think like Manny said, we're power users because we're in marketing. So we're using ChatGPT and all this all the time. So we are thinking that it's more game changing than maybe your customer. You're selling orthotics and some 60-year-olds using Bing, or they're gonna it's gonna be different. So they might just spin up ChatGPT for the first time. There's no history there. There's no cookie. There's nothing. Beep boop. I want a product. Versus people like us and power users who will have the history, who will be using it, who will have prompted it, who will have, like Manny said, created their own things to be able to personalize to them. So even then, if you're trying to go down this rabbit hole of I need to hyper target for GEO AI search, for half these people don't even have decent websites and they don't even think about their customers. They barely do SEO. So they're trying to work on a Ferrari. They're trying to get a Ferrari when they barely have the budget for a Toyota. Right? And that's what we see as well. It's like, and this like this goes into the question that's just popped up here. When we look at paid advertising within LLMs, what do you think the opportunities are? Like, to step back from that, how much traffic is coming through paid, how much traffic is coming through LLMs at the moment? What do you do as a business? Who do your clients do? Is it even worth it? What's it worth paying for ChatGPT ads when you could probably spend that money on fixing, like Steve said, your website is what you can control. So would you rather invest that money in your own website or give it to ChatGPT for like 0.2% worth of traffic? So they're the sort of things that you have to sort of weigh up as well, is the context of where you are at as a brand, where you are at as a business. What can you actually do? What should just get things done? What are your competitors doing? Sometimes people get caught in that rabbit hole, like we're talking. It's like, yeah, I need to really get AI, shiny toy. It's like,
Yeah, what they're trying to do is effectively they're trying to put the cherry on the top. They're trying to paint the car after they've actually thought about the wind tunnel and how they're going to go out on track. And the problem is a lot of people don't go back to the blueprints. They don't look at their customer. They don't look at the journey they're going on, what they want to know about a brand, and create authentic, human-focused content, right? So we are going into a world where the internet it's already noisy enough, but there's a danger that we flood the internet with information that just either isn't human enough, and it isn't real world based. So we're going to see a bounce back for people that have just gone to ChatGPT or Claude and created some content, published it to their website en masse, and then come back and realize, oh, one of these major search engines or platforms is now more rewarding than ever the human authenticity behind content, and the fact that if it really addresses what the customer's looking for, it will stand out. The problem is that only 1% of people show up. People are obsessed with new technology, new shiny objects, but ultimately, if you just create a strategy around the customer, you will still stand out. The problem is they don't think about what's never going to change, which is your customer.
That's very interesting because you all mentioned that brands need to focus on fundamentals. Can relate because yesterday I was with a customer. We're talking a lot about how to appear on LLMs and all this stuff. But when I went into his website, fundamentals were missing. I'll give you an example. Like his website took like 10 seconds to load on mobile. So yeah, I do agree. I think people need to focus on the basics and once you focus on the basics, you can make sure that your AI can work afterwards. But if you don't make sure this is secured first, you're leading to a catastrophe. So I have a maybe last question because like I'm wary of the time. If brands want to prepare for the AI-driven discovery today, what are the most important things they should start doing differently?
I talked about this literally yesterday. I was doing a showcase in Leeds, and I said like there's five kind of well, the top thing I think is turn your key pages into answer first pages. Essentially, that doesn't mean you got to change the whole context. Is look at your top performing pages from and I'm going to look at more from B2B because that's where we kind of specialize it. So Anthony, I'll let you come in from an e-commerce perspective. But from a B2B perspective, I say look at your top service pages, look at what you're ranking for from a keyword perspective right now, and then find topics that relate to that and what would be the prompts in relation to that. Remember, the data around prompts and prompt volume isn't accurate, but just think what are my ideal customer profiles going to be searching for? And then on your core service pages for now, just try and turn those key pages into answer first pages for now. And because that's what you can control, where you control the narrative on your website in terms of how AIs and LLMs kind of like look at you. So that's kind of like the first thing I kind of say. And then you can go into the wider things in terms of like question-based articles, blogs, FAQs and stuff on your website. Make sure you Google My Profiles right. So if you want more brand visibility, first of all, start with your own brand and understand like where is it positioned, and do basic things like, just do prompt tests, go into the different LLMs and type in your brand and see if you pop up, what's positive, what's negative, etc. But we would do the same thing when we're doing keyword research. We would go in, and even though people say go into Cognitum, well, not that I think it matters anymore, it's like you would go to see if you were ranking for a specific keyword, or use SEMrush as a tool, for example, to see what your average ranking is over time. But remember, all these tools use aggregated data. None of it is like 100% accurate. It's best case, essentially, scenario. So start with the fundamentals, turn your key pages into answer first pages where you can.
Yeah, 100% spot on there. Follow what Manny says. That's what we do with clients in terms of the blogs and static page content like that. Even for e-commerce, you want to be a topical authority. You're selling wellness products, you're selling vegan supplements or something. You need to be a topical authority. So blogs and that type of content is going to be key. On the e-commerce front, similar logic applies. What are your top products? What drive the margins? What do your customers want? What do you want to push more from a business perspective? What makes you cash? Cool. How are your collection pages? Are they optimized? Do we have enough? And to create, and especially on Shopify, it's great to be able to create really niche collection pages without bloating out your mega menu, because people get scared about that. There's too many pages in the mega menu, so it's going to be too confusing. So with Shopify, you can create a lot of nice niche collection pages, which are there as the door for people to walk in on search. So instead of just having shoes, you might have wide foot shoes as a specific collection page for people who might be targeting shoes with a wide foot on Google as a keyword, but then also an AI asking those questions going, I have a wide foot and I need a boot for this. You've got that collection page there, and then you optimize the H1 headings on page, add branded content, so forth. Then the next step will be the product pages. So if your product page is thin, right, and it's not structured correctly, that's the last place a user, or soon to be, or now AI agent, is going to be interacting with it to buy. If that page doesn't have any content, no internal links, no links to guides, no branded content, no reviews, terrible product descriptions, no proper heading structure, images are terrible, missing an opportunity there. So in terms of the way we work with ecom, what are the business goals? What do you make the most money on? What are the best margin products? What future categories do you want to grow into? Focus on those creating those collection pages for the products, the benefits, the demographics, and then also retail holidays, Christmas, Valentine's Day, whatever it might be. You create those specific Black Friday, Cyber Monday, creating those specific collection pages. Cool. Sometimes that ends depending on your business. Sometimes that can always keep going. You can always create collection pages depending on more things you find out about your product. And that's why looking at your customer reviews and how they describe your product can actually give you ideas as to collection pages and your content, because that's real lived experiences, positively or negatively, for your products. And then getting to your product page and making them nicely structured, optimized, and answering the questions so that AIs can look at them and give them as options for when people are searching. And then you're looking at AI mode or AI overviews, merchant center, things like that. Those product pages are nicely detailed as well.
So
And,
you
and
both,
I'm just going to say, upskill
yeah.
yourselves if where you can. Whilst Anthony and Steve's been talking, I've been making quick notes, because I have this think up. This is how I work in terms of individual. I have a think up notes. So if I'm on talks, if I hear another speaker say something, I make a note of it if I can quickly, because I'm like, I want to go investigate that further. So we have a responsibility to upskill ourselves. Otherwise, we can't be on this panel to educate the others.
100%. This is the fastest pace of change that I can remember in the last 20 years. And it's actually an exciting time. I know that people, especially business owners, marketing managers, are concerned that we're not quite at this stage where we can attribute ROI from generative engine optimization, from AI search yet. But this is a great opportunity to kind of have a really fresh look at your SEO strategy in general and how you are showing up and being visible online. I think that there's some great takeaways from this, and it is a continuous educational piece. But there are various different starting points, and I think we shouldn't miss the fact that if you've been performing SEO for a while, you can have a look at where you're already appearing in traditional search and Search Console and other tools, because actually this is going to give a great clue. It's going to show where the data that the fan out queries are going to look at. So this is going to allow us to help to build out the right strategies for the prompt optimization, which effectively is going to be the key. But fundamentally, you need to make sure that these crawlers, that these AI bots can actually get in. So make sure you check all the fundamentals. The LLMS text file is absolutely first thing. You've got to let them in, help them around the site. Make sure that you are looking at all of the fundamental things that have been essential to SEO for a very long time. The EAT factors, technical SEO, the authority of your domain and your brand. We're now, of course, looking at brand mentions, not just links as well. So that's very, very key. Keep your content fresh. Make sure you nail the structured data and your page structure. And don't forget topical authority is key. You want to make sure that you're staying on, demonstrating your expertise and real world experience. But certainly this whole idea of prompt optimization can be a minefield. So take it back to your customer, look at where you are with traditional search, make sure they can get in and go from there.
So you all mentioned, guys, the answer first page. Look, I'm not an SEO person. I would like just to know your take on that, like what exactly is an answer first page and how do you optimize towards that?
It's just things you can do on, let's say, a service page. So let's say I've got my PPC landing page. Now, historically, we would focus on ranking forward like PPC agency leads. Instead, people aren't putting that into Google anymore. They're not putting that to LMs anymore. They're going to say like, who's the best PPC agency for, e-commerce in Yorkshire or UK, for example, and Anthony's agency might come up because he's got the context within his landing page around that answer saying, we are like what makes us the best elements. It's like your H1, your H2, your H3s, you might incorporate in your H2, a question as opposed to a specific keyword. I always say if you're writing content for Google, you're going to be invisible to AI. You need to make sure that AI can quote your content as if it's quoting you. Remember, it's representing you to whoever's using its platform as an LLM. So you've got to adapt your context, your style of context, while maintaining tone of voice, and brand guidelines. But what I mean by answer first pages is like there has to be something that answers specific query. I think the basic example I think Anthony gave earlier is like if it's skincare, it's not like I need a moisturizer product. It's like what's the best product for dark circles under eyes? And that's what your product page should be answering, that specific question, not this is L'Oreal's, moisturizer that supports, dark circles. It's like, what are the treatments for dark circle in the eyes? That's what someone might actually put in as a question. The symptom, your product is the answer. Your service is the answer. My wife's divorcing me. We're the best people for not that I'm going through a divorce or anything. I just want to make that clear. I'm still single. But like, my wife's divorcing me. Who can help? Etc. Well, we deal with all that kind of stuff. You're a divorce lawyer. That's the question, though. The question is, my wife's divorcing me. But how do you turn that into an answer Facebook? You've got to understand what the topic, what the prompt is, what the most valuable prompt is based on your ICP, and what's relevant to context. And then you got your sub evergreen content that's going to create internal linking, so other pieces of content through articles, links, FAQs.
Okay, great for your answer. I understand way more now. So I'm really sorry, guys. We only have 9 minutes left, so I think it's time for the closing question. I see the audience has taken a whole page of written notes. So I think that's really great. So yeah, I think the last question would be the impossible question. So so let's ask it now. One tactic that will matter. No, I'm not gonna choose this one. I'm gonna pick this one. Sorry. One capability every marketing team needs to build now.
I think it's the ability to answer the question your clients are asking before everyone else does, with the credibility.
That's a tough one.
Told you it was
I
impossible.
it's I have to think about in terms of what am I doing right now in an agency in terms of where I'm kind of like hiring what skill set I need my team to have. I think it's strategy. I think strategy now is more important than anything. I need strategists in my organization, people that can understand how the environment within digital marketing and AI search is changing so quickly and can re-strategize. Because as you know, Steve mentioned, we're moving so quickly in this. We need people that can constantly review and update strategies. Every business should, that our client that you work with, or if your business should have your business long-term strategy, your marketing aims and objectives to support those business aims and objectives. But what we're seeing is you should be reviewing these every 3 months. So I need people that can come in and understand my client's KPIs, but also adapt and shift in line with that strategy based on how the market's changing around AI search and LLMs and any else they think that might happen. Let's say like, you know, AI overviews now will have ads, which I've seen in the US, for example. So it's like you need to have good strategist and analysts in your team, and unfortunately, they're really hard to come by.
So if I
Yeah,
summarize what you said, like one capability that every marketing team needs now is strategy and
Mhm.
curiosity because things are
Yeah,
changing so much.
yeah,
yeah.
Anthony, you were about to say something.
Similar to us, inquisitive, investigative. Unfortunately, this isn't the 70s and it's only three channels. There are so many channels now. It's not just radio, TV, print anymore. There is a myriad of social networks. There is a myriad of experiential SEO, this, that. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at life, evolve or die. So being consistently inquisitive, learning, reading, coming on things like this, asking people. Another thing is similar to Steve and Manny is that commercially minded or strategic mindset. What is that goal? We find that people get caught up in things that basically don't matter and step out, zoom out. Like these marketing tasks need to be done to then achieve the bigger goal, which is whatever it might be, make more money, get more leads, and so forth. Some people tend to get caught up in the minutia of yes, but my website is 2 seconds and it should be 1.5. It's like, mate, the amount of time, money, and brain power you'll spend to get that half a second. If you're a small business in that sells shoes, it's not really going to make that material difference. So stepping out, zooming out, consistently learning. That's the way it is. Otherwise, you're going to be out of a job. Either AI will take it or someone else will take it. Commercially minded, so thinking of those bigger goals, as Benny said, what's that big picture and how those tasks help to achieve that goal in anything you do. If you're in-house now and you go to another in-house, same thing. If you're going to run your own agency one day, same logic applies for your own business, but then also working with clients. What is their goals? What are the tasks that are going to help you get there? So inquisitive, investigative, learning, evolve or die, and then big picture, commercially strategic minded, thinking of what things you need to do to be able to achieve those goals and constantly review.
And if I can add to that, my advice to any agency owner in here now is embed yourselves into your clients. And when I mean embed, I mean think about embedding a YouTube video to your website level embed. I mean that you should be like really involved, not just into we're your agency and we do PPC and SEO and here's your results. I mean, really start to understand where they're going and what they're doing. You should be educating and hand holding your clients there. Your clients should be coming to you for answers or expecting you to showcase what's happening and where this is going, and you should be the tool and the expert within that. And that's where we see the best response. I haven't focused on any new business this year. All my business and growth has been from existing clients because we've got really involved, really started to understand from last year what we're doing, and we're growing our clients like and it's so many different disciplines. There, well, now, well, social media is changing within AI because, you know, LLMs because of X, Y, Z. And now you Google my profile is really bad. Well, have you considered Reddit Quora yet? Well, why don't we trust Reddit ads? You'll find that you'll start growing your clients so much more with so much, you know, omni-channel that's going on. And that's my advice to agency owners right now.
Thank you, Manny. So sorry, guys. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it up here.